Seasonal allergies are the worst, especially nowadays. If you go out in public while you're having allergies, people are going to give you dirty looks because they think you're sick. They think you're going to pandemic all over their face in the checkout line at the grocery store. So if you want to fix seasonal allergies, you first need to understand what causes seasonal allergies. And it's not genetics like you've been told. Let's get at it.
TC Hale is not a doctor and does not claim to be a doctor or licensed in any type of medical field. Don't be an idiot and use anything heard on the show as medical advice. This information should be used for educational purposes only, and you should contact your doctor for any medical advice. Now get off me.
Now, it is true that genetics can make a person more susceptible to seasonal allergies, but just don't view it like you're stuck with allergies just because your mom had allergies. It's more about the current state of your body and possibly even the current state of your digestion. Now, to understand the connection between digestion and seasonal allergies, we first need to understand the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is kind of a system that kind of runs a lot of the show behind the curtains. So it runs systems without you having to think about it. They just kind of happen on automatic. Like, you don't have to think about your heart beating or the rate at which your respiratory system breathes. You just kind of have that stuff going on. So this is an automatic system. The autonomic nervous system has two sides. The sympathetic side is our fight or flight state, and the parasympathetic side is our rest and digest state. Now, both of these states are appropriate, and both of them need to be used by the body for the body to function correctly. And the body should switch back and forth from these states as needed. But the problem is that some people can get stuck too far in one of these states too often. If a person is stuck too far into one of these states too often, that can create an imbalance in how the body's operating, and that can create different types of symptoms. And there's also a wide variety of issues that can push a person too far into one of these states. Stress can push a person too far into that sympathetic fight or flight state. And the stress could be in their life, or it could be stress that their body is dealing with and pushing them into that state. A sympathetic imbalance could cause a person to maybe fly off the handle too easily. Maybe you yell at the mailman because you don't like the shorts that they're wearing. Now, the parasympathetic state is our rest and digest state. And when someone's too far into this parasympathetic state, the symptoms that are most common are seasonal allergies or asthma. Now, that doesn't mean that anybody dealing with a parasympathetic imbalance is going to have seasonal allergies and or asthma. They're just very common symptoms that show up, and seasonal allergies seem to be the most common symptom. This brings us to the connection between seasonal allergies and digestion. The problem is that digestive malfunctions are very common. A lot of people don't even know that they're really dealing with digestive malfunctions. They just think that these symptoms are so common and everybody bloats, and so what's the big deal? But the problem is that when we digest food, we should be making hydrochloric acid in our stomach to break that food down. And when that acidic product leaves the stomach, the gallbladder should be squirting bile down onto that acidic product to alkalize and neutralize those acids. And that combination of an acid product leaving the stomach and an alkaline bile leaving the gallbladder creates this sizzle that really busts our food apart and allows us to pull all the nutrients out of that food. So if either side of digestion is not working correctly, which is very common, it's very common for someone not to be making enough stomach acid, or it's very common for bile to have become too thick and sticky to flow correctly. But if either of these sides of digestion are not working correctly, we're not getting that sizzle that allows us to really bust our food apart and access the nutrients that are in that food. So when that's the case, the body's like, hey, we need some help here. So if there's malfunctions, the body will push itself as far as it can into that parasympathetic rest and digest state. The parasympathetic state is where we digest efficiently. So if we're not digesting correctly, the body's like, hey, well, I can help out. I can just cram us way over into this parasympathetic side. That will elevate digestion a little bit, and at least we can get some of the nutrients out of this food that we're eating. So the body really is trying to help. The problem is when this person leans way over in this parasympathetic side, all of a sudden they're sneezing or coughing or their snot running all out of their face. So that can be a real problem for the person experiencing that. So this is the main cause for seasonal allergies. When we see someone with seasonal allergies and we look at their physiology and their body chemistry, the signs almost always point to a severe parasympathetic state. So if you're dealing with any type of digestive symptoms, like maybe burping or bloating or acid reflux, constipation, diarrhea, maybe food kind of feels like it sits there like a rock in your stomach too long, or maybe you have acne or other skin issues or nausea, any type of issue or symptom like that is a strong indication that digestion is not working the way that it should. So if you can fix those digestive malfunctions and improve your body's ability to break down food and access the nutrients in that food, then the body won't have to push you so far into that parasympathetic state that it can create this allergy type experience. You also have the option of using supplements or maybe dietary choices that could push you out of that extreme parasympathetic state. That's why allergy medications work. They push a person more into that sympathetic state. So one thing that you can do is you can look at your unique bio-individuality. You can run some simple self-tests that you can do at home with tools you can pick up at a pharmacy or a health food store. You can see if maybe, hey, I have some markers that show that I may be leaning too far on this parasympathetic side. One test that you could do is you can just look at your blood pressure. And looking at your blood pressure can help you figure out what your pulse pressure is. Now, your pulse pressure is when you take your systolic number, which is that top blood pressure number, and you subtract the diastolic number, which is the bottom blood pressure number. And the resultant is your pulse pressure. So if your pulse pressure is less than 37, that's a strong sign that you're leaning too far on that parasympathetic side. Now, also you could look at your pupils. If your pupils are very small, like the black area in that colored area is very small, that's a sign that you may be leaning too far on the parasympathetic side. If you have a really strong gag reflex, maybe you brush your teeth and the toothbrush goes a little bit too far back and you gag, that's a strong gag reflex, and that's another sign of a parasympathetic imbalance. Now, you don't need all of these things happening to have a parasympathetic imbalance, but these are just some different markers that might give you an indication that there could be a problem leaning in that direction. Just remember that if you're taking allergy medications, that any of these tests you run might not show a parasympathetic imbalance. They may show that you're leaning too far on the sympathetic side because the medication has pushed you so far in that direction. If you want to understand those tests a little bit better that you can run at home, we have a free online digestion course that kind of walks you through how to do those tests and how to look at the results and understand what they might be showing you. And we'll put a link to that totally free course down in the description below. Now, beyond fixing digestion, which is really the main goal, you want to fix any digestive issues so that your body isn't getting pushed into this parasympathetic state. But that can take a little time for some people to fix a major digestive malfunction, so we also use some supplements that can help push a person more in that sympathetic state. If you don't want to use allergy medications because you're concerned about what they may do to your liver and the burden that can create on a liver, then there's some natural supplements that you can use that can help push you a little bit more onto that sympathetic side. The most common supplements we use are L-phenylalanine, L-tyrosine, and L-glutamine. Now, all of these are amino acids that can push a person a little bit more to the sympathetic side. The reason that we don't use all of these is because they can also create imbalances in other areas. So it can be really important to look at your physiology to understand where you are and at least look at your blood pressure. The L-phenylalanine, I like to call it L-phen. Who wants to say L-phenylalanine all day long? So we'll call it L-phen, but L-phen and L-tyrosine both have the ability to raise blood pressure. So if you're a person with high blood pressure, you wouldn't want to use those supplements because they could magnify that problem. But these supplements can also magnify an imbalance that we call a catabolic imbalance. So you'd want to look at your physiology to see if that's an issue for you. Now, glutamine can also raise blood pressure, but it would magnify an imbalance called an anabolic imbalance, and it could magnify constipation if you're dealing with constipation. So instead of looking for a remedy for allergies, you really want to look at you. You want to look at your physiology and understand what's happening to figure out the tool that's going to help you the most without creating other issues. So I know a supplement choice can be a little bit complicated to get it right, but the free course with the link down in the description will walk you through how to do that and make that a whole lot easier. Just understand that the main goal is always to improve any digestive issues so that the body can digest the food the way that it's supposed to and not have to push itself into this parasympathetic state to make it happen. The main thing to understand is that if you've been dealing with seasonal allergies even for your whole life, know that you can improve that issue. If you can help improve any malfunctions or balance any imbalances that are creating that problem for you, all of a sudden you don't have to deal with that problem. So let us know in the comments if you have any questions, and since improving any digestive issues is the main goal, for now, watch our playlist on optimizing digestion and that'll give you some great insights. I can't wait to hear about your results.